Amin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. نويت تعلم وتعليم والمذكر والتذكير والنافع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة إلى الخير ابتغاء وجهه ومرضاة قرب ثواب سبحانه وتعالى مع نسل وآفة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما يرزق فيه هني بغني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما يرزق فيه هني بغني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما يرزق فيه هني بغني. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. I put in your intentions before we start. All your intentions in learning about education. Alhamdulillah. I have to read from your book. Alright, we have reached number. Where are we on? Number 6 Oh, today already. 13. Anissa. Yeah, we took all this already. Number 13. Yeah. Yeah, he should avoid lengthy discussions and lead to tedium. And he should take care to end the lesson while those present are still desirous to learn. So that happened yesterday during our Arabic lesson. So that ended there. Let's keep it that way. Alright, number 14. Alright, so قال المؤلف من كتاب مقاصد حلقات للحبيب العلامة حبيب عمر بن حفيظ نفعنا به وبعلم في الدارين إلى أن قال. Right, from the book, the aims and objectives of sacred knowledge or sacred learning, right, from the great scholar and knower of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Habib Omar bin Hafiz, may be benefited by him and by his knowledge in both abodes, till where he has said, الرابع عشر, and number 14. So أيرتب, no, that is not that one. Yeah. وأن يرتب مطالعات خاصة لضعيف الفهم ويتمكن من لحوق بأقرانه والسير معهم. Alright, so number 14, right, for the scholar to do, for the teacher to do, he should always provide supplementary readings for his students. Right, so alright, so to provide supplementary readings for his students, right, so that they can further extend for themselves what they are learning. Right, so other things they can read, they can refer to in their learning. Right, and classes, right, for students with ability in order that they may deepen their understanding and finish the curriculum faster. Right, so basically what he's saying is that okay, number 14 Alright, yeah. So he should systemize and organize material for those who have difficulty comprehending in order that they may keep up with their colleagues. Okay, number 14 and number 15 actually come together. Right, so number 14 and number 15, what he's saying here is that you need to see your classroom, right, and you need to be sensitive towards the abilities of the students who are in the classroom. And that's why small classroom size is important. Right, because the teacher needs to see that while some students are able to catch up, some students are basically lagging behind. Right, so he needs to be able to handle both of them, right, and give them both their rights. Right, so for the ones who have difficulty comprehending, right, in order for them to keep up with their colleagues, right, so يرتب مطالعات خاصة لضعيف الفهم. Right, ضعيف الفهم, it means the one who are weak, right, in their understanding. It means they are not strong right, in picking up concepts, picking up facts, picking up or memorizing, right? They are basically weaker, right? So for him to prepare more things, right, or more exercises, more assessments for them to catch up. Right? ليتمكن من اللحوق بأقرانه وسير معهم. Right? وسير معهم. So they can go on together with them. Right? So, for him to do this, try to be sensitive towards those who are weaker in their understanding. Right, do you want your book? Okay, never mind. Because I just need the Arabic. I see the English. right? So they can. Okay, so for them to keep up with their colleagues. Right? So basically what he's saying, pay attention to those who are weaker in understanding and weaker in ability. Right? And then number 15 is on those who are faster and stronger. Right? Those who are able to handle more. Right? So this is of course, especially in the later ages, right, as they grow up. Right? So we are going through the ways of teaching. Right? So he goes into that the teacher needs to be very focused and sensitive onto what her students can take. Right? And work with them with their ability. Means don't force things on them, right? Nor go too slow with them. Right? So number 15, right, that he says here, number 15, وَيَجْعَلُ مُطَالَعَاتٍ وَدُرُوسًا إِضَافِيَّةً لأقوياء الفهم ويستوعبوا أكثر ويسرعوا في إكمال المقرر. Right? So also to prepare, right, to prepare more reading, further reading for those who are strong in their understanding, for the strong ones in their understanding, right, and so that they can understand more things, right, and they can finish the syllabus faster, right. So basically, really, teacher needs to look into this lah, right. So that was okay. That one is clear what he's saying here, right. So number 16, right. So basically, what he's saying here is remedial classes or supplementary classes, depending on the ability of the student, right, to go with them. Right, number 16, وَيَسْتَعْمِلْ الثَّنَاء المعدلة على كل من يحسن الإجابة وعلى من يحسن السؤال وعلى أهل المواظبة وأهل التبكير في الحضور. Right, so to give appropriate praise, right, to those who are those who are good in answering correctly, and those who are who ask good questions. Right, this to ask, so encourage, right, people to ask good questions. Right, so not that they make fun out of things, or they just ask like merepek questions basically lah. Right, so to encourage, right, good behavior in classrooms, right, and also encouragement for those who persist in studying. Right, those who are very diligent, very persistent, very enthusiastic in studying, and also those who come early on time. Right, so to actually praise, right, those who come on time, right, not those who come later. Right, this is of course all the adabs of learning lah. The adabs of learning, that you come on time, you listen, you pay attention, and you have adab with the teacher. Right, number 17 is, and it is from a teacher's point of view. So the teacher should be instilling that in the student. Right, that I like this behavior, right? I like this behavior, like towards the teacher, right? So number 17, أن يستعمل المسابقات بين الطلاب ويحضر الجوائز للممتازين في الإجابات تحفيزا وتشجيعا. Right, so here he's basically teaching classroom techniques, right? So to have competitions, to have classroom games, right? So you put them into groups, and then you make them, they make them more enthusiastic lah, right, about learning. All of these things will instill in them ways whereby they memorize, right, stuff, right? So you always have all competitions, games, all that you all know lah, like in classroom. It's all techniques of the classroom, right? So and that he should. And should also prepare prizes, like small gifts. Like in Darul Zahra, Darul Mustafa, they will always give us miswak. Got a lot of miswak at home. Right, well, they always give miswak as the gift, the prize. It's always, but it'll be like a nice miswak in a nice casing, that kind of thing, wrapped up miswak. So it's not like just like a random miswak, but they like give us nice casings with it. So that's the gift lah. Right, so because there's a saying, I'm not sure if it's a hadith or not, right, but there's a saying that the siwak is the gift of the believer. Right, it's the gift of the believer. So you want to give them gifts, right, give them siwak, basically. Okay, right. So all of these things, all of them just encourage the enthusiasm in studying. And this book was written for students who are of an older level, right, especially for 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, basically those who are reaching the adulthood. So what more children, right? Because for them, it can get very dull. The last thing you want to do is make it very dull for them, and make it exciting lah, right? To have all this competition, right? And then after they get upset, they don't win. Because for kids, everything lah, everybody must win, kan? Because if they don't win, then they get upset about it. Right. So okay. So number 18. ويلتزم أن يلتزم بمنهج مدروس ومقرر يمشي على خطواته وإليك مقترح منهج في المواد التالي. Alright, so and he should also adhere to a tested and trustworthy curriculum. Basically, don't do this, by yourself. Don't make up your own curriculum, in a way. Go by what has been done and tested, of the people of the past, the Salaf. So which one, for this one, even for the homeschooling here, I'm looking a lot from Darul Zahra and Darul Mustafa curriculum, what they are doing in Hadana, what they're doing there. So it's basically like things that are taught is taken from that curriculum. The way it is taught, it can depend on the place and the people, of that particular place lah. Right, but the curriculum itself, take something that is tried and tested. Right, so adhere to a tested and tested curriculum. Right, propose. Right, so a minhaj. Right, so not to jump here, jump there, and teach them all kinds of random things. But a proper minhaj. Right, so you begin with this, begin with this, right, and then you go on from there. Right, so and then and minhaj means a way, a path. Right, a way. Right, muqarrar means curriculum. And muqarrar is syllabus. Right, syllabus, curriculum. So minhaj is a way of the people of the past. Right, and I was telling my cousin also that day, I was discussing with her about why, because she's from Madrasah Wak Tanjung kan, and she said she realized that how Muiz has done it. Muiz has just taken the knowledge, right, from all of these books of the past, and then they repackage it, right, for the students. Right, so students no longer follow a proper minhaj, right, in the schools in Singapore. Right, but they have their own textbooks. Right, from there, it's her opinion lah. Because for me, I didn't go through the madrasah system, so I can't comment. Right, so because for me, I went through a minhaj system. And Darul Zahra, Darul Mustafa, it was a minhaj system whereby you finish book after book after book. So you khatam kitab. Right, you do book from beginning to end, and then you khatam. And beginning to end, khatam. Beginning to end, khatam. Right, so for fiqh, for aqidah, for tasawwuf, for hadith, there is a level after level, and each of these levels they build you up, right? So if I learned in my first year, I learned Risalah Jami'ah, right? So Risalah Jami'ah, after that comes Safiyatul Najah, right? So in the book Safiyatul Najah, right, there will be things in Risalah that will be repeated, right? And at first when I was first learning this, I was like, why they keep repeating stuff? Right, because we learned all these things before, and it will be the same sharah, the same thing repeated for you for the next 4 years. Right, but that is the way of the people of the past, and now after going through it, I find that it is the best way. Right, it is the best way. Right, because I will spend a good few weeks redoing whatever I did in last semester. Right, but in a few weeks, because that makes all my fiqh memorized. Right, so after 4 years, because it's really drilling, in a way. Right, so I don't even have to refer anymore. Right, it's all memorized. So the definitions all memorized. Right, because of that methodology lah, of book after book after book after book. Right, instead of taking one thing once and then going on to the next one after that. Right, so it's a drilling methodology. Right, that people of the past they used to have. Right, and it keeps it at their fingertips. Right, so they know all this stuff lah. Right, and also when it comes to especially adab and akhlaq and tasawwuf. Right, so for them, they won't even go on to the next book until you have applied the first book. Right, the first book needs to be applied. Right, then you need to be. Then they will ask you. You have already taken Bidadul Hidayah. How much of Bidadul Hidayah are you applying? You've learned the whole book. Right, how much of it have you applied? Right, and they will sometimes and every semester they will say you have taken Zakira, right, Zakhiratu Musharrafah. How much of Zakhiratu Musharrafah have you applied? Right, so now you want to take a bigger book. You want to go into Ihya Ulumuddin. Right, but all the small books, you never apply. Like how to go into a bigger book in that case, right? So that's how the tartib of the of teaching. So even the hadith, right? What of the hadith they have memorized? What have they applied? Right, in them learning this hadith, right? And Quran same thing. And Sayyidina Umar, he took 12 years to memorize Surah Baqarah. Right? Not because he was weak in his memorization, but because with every ayat he made sure he implemented. So it took him 12 years before because for them there's no rush. Right? Why you want to hurry and memorize everything? Right? If you're not going to apply, right, there's going to be bad news for you. Right? You need to apply every single ayat. Right? So that was Sayyidina Umar. Right? So here is a minhaj that Habib is writing out for us, right? In order of importance. In order of importance. So the most important thing for you to teach them, like, in their lives, and it is also part of our modern age, where people have prioritized everything else except for these sciences, and these sciences are the sciences of truth, the sciences of God Himself. God revealed these sciences, right? Whereas, and what Habib Abu Bakr Ali said, that people today, they prioritize sciences that human made up man-made sciences, right, of society and sociology and psychology and whatsoever. These are all man-made sciences, made-up sciences. So, and he said that they have prioritized these sciences over what is God-sent, right? God-sent sciences, right? So the first thing that you focus on, right? The first thing that you focus on is the Quran, right? There is nothing that is like the science of the Quran, right? And that is incumbent on every parent to make sure the child goes into the Quran. It is their right that they learn the Quran, not just reading the Quran, but learning the Quran in its meaning. It is their right that the Quran is their guide in their life, right? Then the second thing, so the Quran, basically there's two things. It is the, okay, we'll go into later on, right? Habib goes into the parts of the what is the knowledge of the Quran later on, right, as we go into it, and he will teach how do you teach these sciences, right? So after the Quran is the Hadith, right? Because the same thing, the Quran is the guide of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to human beings on earth, and then Hadith is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, him being our prophet, right? Him being our guide and our prophet in life, right? So it is important for us to learn Hadith, right? And Hadith is something that is so neglected, right? It's so neglected, Hadith, right? And there's so many jewels and gems in Hadith, right? So it's sad that the Hadith is something that is not focused upon, right, in our generation. Even like 40 Imam Nawawi Hadith, just the 40 Hadith itself is not something that is promoted. You see all these talks out there, like they will go talk about other stuff, but Hadith, I talk about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, and then the third thing, right, that they focus upon, the third important thing is Aqidah, right? Aqidah. So you have no, it's okay. You have Quran, you have Hadith, you have Aqidah, right? So Aqidah is to talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to talk about the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to talk about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to our life, that Allah is God and we are Abd, and we are the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And really the first three, you see like all these issues that we have today of people asking all these kind of questions about the religion, it does go back to these first three, right? They do not have a firm foundation of Quran and Hadith and Aqidah. Right, so my cousin and we were going through about the questions on they were going to have an event in the next 2 weeks, and we were going through the questions. All of the questions that are in there, they boil down to these three things, right, that were not given to them when they were young, nor when they were growing up, right? So even like the person that I met who told me that she has lost her faith, and she went through a madrasah system, she went through the entire thing, right? But these three, like, where were they? Right? Was it that they were not paying attention in class? Were they sleeping in class? Was it brought forward? Like what was going on that you don't understand, right? What the Quran is saying. You don't understand what is akhirah. You don't understand what is the decree. Right? You don't understand what Rasulullah has said about things in life. And aqidah on how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us. Right? So there's the first three, most important. First three. Right? So that's why even for the Arabic course, I am going to really go into these three. Right? I'm going to take text from the Quran and the Hadith. Right? Because for our niyats to come to fruition. Right? That we're learning all of these things only because within Arabic language, only because of the Quran and the Hadith. That we want to get them directly from Rasulullah's mouth himself. Right? Exactly what he said, I want to understand. And exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I want to understand without an intermediary language. Without an intermediate language. Right. Sit down. It's just. Tamam. So number 4 out of the right, in importance is then fiqh. So these first three, and then fiqh. Right, so not to go into fiqh directly. Right, this first three needs to be there. The first three, right, this first three actually for children, it happens in them before the age of 7. This first three, right, before the age of 7. After 7, then you focus on fiqh. Right, because at 7 they're told to pray. Right, so you can encourage and everything, right, but at 7 then fiqh becomes, you focus on fiqh. Right, but Aqidah, Quran, Hadith, right, Quran and Hadith basically about Allah, about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, they need to be told about Allah subhanahu wa taala and about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam constantly as they are growing up from age 0 to 6. Constantly, the Aqidah is being instilled, right, from 0 to 6. So they understand there is this one true God. They understand that their love is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we follow him whatever he does. Right. So this is the same thing when it comes to also to non-Islamic sciences. The first 6 years, right? The first 6 years is a focus on akhlaq. It's a focus on etiquette and adab. After 7, then you have the books, you have writing and reading, you have mathematics, you have sciences and all that. First 6 years is about behavior. Right? What, especially after the age of 3 and 4 and 5. Right? Then you really try to help them with their behavior, because they're going to go into the age of 7. And when they go into the age of 7, if they're not being taught about good behavior, about good akhlaq, right, it might just very well be continued into an older age, right? So that's why in our time you see people, in secondary school, in primary school, right, who do not have very good respect for their parents and for those who are around them, and they are selfish in themselves. Right, because the first part of their age of their growing up, there was no akhlaq being instilled. Right, because parents are so they're so kanchong, like so called. Right, they go straight into the studies, right, into mathematics, sciences, music, this and that, and you don't take care of how they are growing up as a human being. Right, so Sheikh Hamzah, there is one talk of Sheikh Hamzah that I really recommend. That is called Education of the Heart. How do you educate the heart? Right, teaching the heart. Right, it's a very, very good lecture. I listened to it a few times, right, because it speaks about this crisis, right, in human beings, that from the very early age they are being drilled upon reading, writing, and basically all of these hard sciences that can be done later on. At 7 you can pick it up, and you'll be as good as someone who picked it up at 4 or 5 years old. You'll be as good as, you're not lagging behind. Right, but in drilling them in an early age, you are missing out on the akhlaq part. Right, because the focus, and you see around us, the focus is all these things. So the akhlaq, the adab, the speech, the respect for parents, right? And I see in my students like and they have younger siblings. Mother comes home, completely ignores the mother. Nothing, right? Just continue doing your own work or watching your TV or doing your own stuff. No salam, nothing. The mother goes to the room, puts down her stuff, she rests. The child is completely detached. Right, that the parent has come home, and the child is 6 years old, 5 years old, right? Because so used to just being at home with the maid, the mother's not around, right? And I was a tutor at the time when I was watching the younger sibling lah, and I was thinking, I was the mother, I'll be so sad. Like, I come home from a hard day of work, and my child just ignores me the entire time, right? Because she's so used to me not really interacting with her, right, in a way, right? So there's something small, adab. When father comes home, salam father. Like, go up, get up, whatever you are doing, doesn't matter. Get up, salam your father, and respect him. Like, that he has come home from a hard day of work. Right, and as they grow older, train them, serve the father. Father comes home, get him a drink. Right, get him some water, get him some food. Be of service. From the age of 6, 7, they can start already. Right, even younger than that, if you can train them. Right, to actually have, because the father's figure in the family, he is the respected figure, right, and he is the one that is held in esteem. The mother also, right, but there's this respect for the father, right. So to make them, right, salam the father before he leaves and when he comes home, right. Don't allow it to slide past, right. This is something that is important for them to pay attention to, right. So all of this happens before the age of 7. Right? So even in our own society, even if it's non-Islamic, right, they are missing out on this. As Sheikh Hamzah mentions, they are missing out on this part because they're so focused on the hard sciences. And my child must know how to count by this age. My child must know how to read by this age. Like, who is competing? Is there a competition going on? And by the age of 7, everybody was primary school By the age of 7, must learn how to read, right? But then, okay. right, by the age of, basically like a competition whereby you see on Facebook, and if you see all those, this talk called sharenting, and my sister-in-law was there for this talk called sharenting. It's like parenting but sharenting. Right, so basically it's called, is by, I can't remember by who, right, but basically they call in experts to speak about this issue, right, or people who share too much about their parenting online. They keep sharing stuff online about their parenting, and like not in a good way where you advise people, but more of like showing what my child has done, showing how my child is, showing. Right, there is an aspect to that, about ayn and about stuff like that. But parents who are also watching on, right, they get very nervous or they get very worried that, my son, and they begin to compare. Like, my son, she's also 7 and he's also 7. Oh, look at that, she can read the whole book already and invited. And my child is still struggling. In the sense that it makes you feel as if you're in a race. You're not in a race. You are educating your child. It's not a race. It's not a race. Right? And that becomes oppressive on the child, especially if the child is finding it difficult. And then it's because you want to keep up with your friends or your peers, right, as to how they are doing, and you're not seeing the child as an individual himself, as to what Allah has given him and what Allah has placed in him, right, to give him his right. If he is stronger in memorization, then alhamdulillah. Right, but if he needs more time, then you have to see. And I have a friend that she has girls, right, and the younger child is much faster than the older child in memorization, right? But she sees that the older child is better at reciting, not at memorization. So she's not pushing her older child to memorize, right? Because she can see the older child has issues with memorizing, right? So okay, you want to read, right? But memorize up to this point, and then we will stop. And Surah Duha, for example, after Surah Duha, don't need. And Surah Duha you memorize, and I'll leave you there. Right? In the future, if you want to, you can do it by yourself. Right? But she can see in a child, the child gets very stressed, right, and very upset, right, with the memorization. But the younger child, marhaban, you read one time, she memorized the entire thing already. Right? So she sees the children as they are, and there's no comparison. Right? And that is already one thing, right, that can really it can really hurt a child. It can really hurt a child when you begin to compare, and they begin to compare, right, with other people. Right? So like even my own husband's niece, right, she's very traumatized in school. She's very upset about school, right, because of course there is the bullying. When you are slower, right, when you have you are slow, there is a bullying that's going on, right, and then there is an esteem that is being killed lah, right. So my husband will teach her, and my husband he can see that she loves to study, right, but she's not taking part because she's scared that people make fun, and she's scared that people will look down. She gets wrong, right, in a way. Right, so the parent needs to be the teacher needs to be very observant. Like, how is your child, and don't compare with how other children are doing. Don't compare. Right, you compare with what you know of their ability. Right, you can see them. You spend enough time with your children, you know their ability. You know what they're able to do and what they're capable of, and you know how much to push also. Right, don't allow society to dictate for you how much to push. Don't allow that. Right, you be fair to your child. Right. So when you work with all these kids, you do enough tuition you actually really see it You actually really see it, right? That some of them, they can really do it, right? But because of all these other factors, right, there is a giving up, right? Or there is just don't want to try also, right? It's because of not enough nurturing from the beginning, right? That they can try, they can do, right? Take them by the hand. So so basically that's the first part, the first 6 years. Right, really is very crucial for you to implement in them their Quran, Hadith, Aqidah, right? To really be in them. And then fiqh comes, because when they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, it becomes natural for them, right, to obey. Right, so you can't give them fiqh, right, before they begin to understand, about the importance of fiqh. Right, fiqh comes after love and attachment. Then they will obey. Right, naturally they will obey. Fire outside. Yeah, there's a fire outside. Oh, the Chinese burning. It's okay. I thought like the fire was on fire or something. Itulah. Huh?
Who came to talk to you? Fatima, as if you're a fireman like that.
Call lah, tell them. Yes, I call the fireman and tell them, Then there's a fire in Toa Payoh. Come, put it out. I think they'll be very upset that someone called on them. Because the smoke is major smoke.
But it's a big cage.
Never mind, when the rain comes, then will put it off. Allah will put it off. Alright, so the first thing important before fiqh, right? So that's because fiqh is hard sciences. Fiqh is serious and hard. Right? So when they're age of 6, 7, right, you can begin to give them more fiqh. Right? Before that, focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet and their beliefs. Right? If you want this children, inshallah, to be firm in them in their whole lives, the rest of their lives.
So is it for Quran and 0 to 6 is mainly
Memorization. Stories, memorization, right? So even like the short surah you're telling them, right? So like Surah Zilzal is about the earthquake, right? So the earthquake when the earth shakes, right? And in Surah Zilzal is something that you can really bring to kids because the earth begins to talk. The earth is talking. What is the earth saying? Because the earth saw whatever everybody did. The earth is always there. Wherever you go, there's always the earth. What? So the earth is a witness. Right? She is seeing all that you did. And she will tell Allah everything that you did on this earth. And so the earth is following. So you can't imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seeing them at all times. The earth sees you at all times. And on the day of judgment, the earth will complain about you. Right? All will tell Allah good things about you. Right? So and then the hadith, the surah ends off with saying that even something so small, Allah will know that you did good. Right? So if you say you smile at somebody and no one saw that your smile, except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw your smile, that smile is counted. Right, because you smile, nobody saw the smile. Right, you smile to yourself. Right, or maybe you said sorry, but nobody heard your sorry. Right, your small sorry, nobody heard the voice at all. Right, Allah heard, and Allah will put it down for you. Right, or even when you niat also, apa niat? You intended to give the chocolate to your sister, right? But then she fell asleep, so you ate it. Possible. There was an intention. She was awake, I would have given it to her, right? But she fell asleep, so I ate it. Right? Do you get the intention? Right? Intention. Right? So, and also every bad deed is also sin. Every bad deed. Right? So that's Surah Zilzal. So you can do it in that way. Very simple, light-hearted, short tafsir.
The intended bad deed is not counted.
Not counted.
Is it okay to tell them?
Tell them that if you at first you do something bad, right? But then you change it to good, then you get pahala for doing that. So you intended to, for example, you intend to eat all the chocolate by yourself. Don't show anybody at all. Eat everything by yourself. Don't share with anybody. And then you saw your sister, ala kesian lah my sister, right? So, I pity my sister. So you give her some. Right? Or you intended to steal her chocolate, for example. When she sleep, I will take all her chocolate. But when she fell asleep, you felt, okay, you know what, that's not right. Right? And then you get pahala for that. Okay? For changing your bad to something that is better, that is good. Alright, then fiqh, right? And then usul. Right? Usulul fiqh, right, is under okay, so here, right, it's actually not in order. Right? Fiqh, sirah, suluk, they all come together. Right? So they all come together. The first part is in order. Thereafter, they come together. Fiqh, sirah, usul. Right? So usul is basically the theory of this of fiqh, usul al-fiqh. Right? That one is also a bit later. After you finish fiqh, then you can go into usul. Right? Basically the basis of this religion, the basis. Right? Sirah. Right? So sirah is also part of aqidah. Right? Because in your aqidah you believe in the prophets, right? And stories. And sirah. And then suluk is basically adab, etiquette, purification of the heart, wayfaring. What he means here is that basically this is by books, right, in going into books. Right, so it is arranged in this way. So after learning the first three, the next few will come, right, as they progress in their life. And then nahu is last, right? Because nahu is something that not everybody can grasp. Nahu, they can learn a bit of nahu, right? But even like some of the hababas, they will say to me that they tried learning nahu but they give up. They not learning Nahu. I know a few of the Hawa. I won't say who lah, but they asked me to teach them Nahu. And I was like, Hawa, but I'm not teaching you Nahu. And she's like, what are you being bakhil on your knowledge? And I was like, how can I teach you? Hawa. Because she tried learning Nahu when she was younger lah. She told me when she was young she tried learning Nahu, but when she grew they always like they don't like it lah. The Arabs don't like Nahu actually. They don't like Nahu, right? So but only some of them like it, but most of them they don't really like Nahu. Like, it's not their thing. So even Habib Umar's daughter used to be in my class, and she would ask the non-Arabs about the Nahu answer. Like, because it's not their what they go into lah. Right? But everything else, mashallah, they are top notch. Right? So, but then we all know Arabs are going Nahu very fast. Whereas in their country they don't do that. Right?
You learn English grammar also.
Yeah. It's like us lah. Like I tell you, learn English grammar. You're like.
Do you teach us Nahu in the first lesson?
No.
No, there wasn't Nahu.
There was not Nahu at all. Nahu is completely different.
That's considered what?
That is just basically basis of the language lah. You must know this stuff before you go into the language. Just basically to know who's the doer of stuff. Yeah. But I wasn't Nahu. And that the Arabs would get naturally because they speak that way. Right? They know how to speak and say you, me, everyone else, right? Yeah. So they would have to learn that stuff. Yeah. So okay, and then Arabic grammar. Alright. So how we're gonna begin the first part. How do we teach the Quran? How do we teach the Quran? It's very long, the Quran part. Okay. That's why every single thing Habib already goes deep into this, right? Because it's a serious issue. That when you say learn the Quran first, it's not just reading, right? And for them, they're Arabs, so they're speaking about reading. They're speaking about reading with understanding, right? So they say that. So the first thing about the Quran, Al-Hifz, right? Memorization of the Quran. Okay? Al-Hifz, memorization of the Quran. Second, Tilawa, recitation. Third, Tajweed, right? Knowing how to recite correctly. Fourth, Tafsir, right? The understanding of the Quran. And fifth, Ulum al-Quran. Right? So Ulum al-Quran is basically Quranic sciences. All will go into it. Right? What are they? Okay? The first one is memorization. Right, and then reading, and then tajweed, and tafsir, and ulum. Okay? And so that's 5, There's 5 of knowledge of the Quran, not just 3. We all stop at 3. Right, there's number 4 and there's number 5. Right there. Okay. So that's why my mother, she was like why? Like why did our ancestors, why did they come up with up to the 3rd one? And then they stopped there. Like how come no one pushed us for the 4th and the 5th one? Like all these years lah, my mother, she was saying like why, how did the society in like Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, how do we come to that? Right, that the 4th and the 5th one were somewhat neglected, like in the teaching of the Quran. So Allah Alam, maybe it's the thinking part is not there. Yeah, maybe they didn't have teachers for it, or maybe like I don't know, boring. That's why I do wonder lah. My mother was wondering how come, because Islam was brought to us in this region, and then we took the Quran like in the recitation, like but for some reason the society left the meaning. They took the language, they took the reading, but they left the meaning. Right? So like why? Why did they do that? Yeah, maybe. To me, secular subject. Our government, I blame them. I think maybe not enough teachers. People, because there are people who could teach to read, but maybe to teach the meaning and everything is something that is they don't have enough teachers lah. Maybe. Allahu a'lam. But it's interesting to actually understand why the Muslims in this region did that. Yeah, they learn tafsir in madrasah. That's why I did ask my students in madrasah lah, like how come you all don't teach tafsir? Like why don't, because they will teach ngaji, but they won't teach tafsir. The students in madrasah, right? So I asked them why not. Then they say usually the answer will be they're not confident. They're not confident to teach tafsir. Right. So okay lah, can understand lah. But at the same time, someone has to teach it. Someone needs to bring it forth. Right. So no ARS. No, like in the past also. So like even my brother, like he asked his wife, right, who's a ustazah kan. He asked her like, why is it that when you like all of you finish your secondary 4 in madrasah and you go overseas to the Al-Azhar and you go to other places, right? How come none of you major in tafsir? There is a major. You can major in tafsir. My teacher in Dardara, she had a master's in tafsir, right, from the Sana'a University, right, in Sana'a. Right, so and she, mashallah, her tafsir, mashallah, I was like blown away by the tafsir that she would give. And she would say that they will learn the Quran over and the 4 years of masters, they go through the Quran over and over and over and over and over again. Right, so I mean, mashallah, the kind of knowledge that is in tafsir. So I told my brother about it lah. My brother was asked his wife like, how come none of you major in tafsir? Like most of you when you go overseas, most of you will go into Sharia. Everybody go into Sharia actually. Everybody will do Sharia. Like why nobody is doing tafsir or aqidah or usuluddin, the basis of this religion? Why? Right? And then I don't know lah. But her answer was that because there is no market in tafsir. The market is in fiqh. There's no market. That's why. Yeah. There was
One of your talks, you said tafsir is classes at the lowest.
the lowest. Tafsir classes are the lowest in demand. But I think that is so because nobody knows what it is. People are not like, even like for me when I teach also and I give talks, thereafter people will approach me and they'll say, Ustazah, do you teach the religion? And I say, yeah, I do. Then she says, okay, I need someone to teach me ngaji. And then I'll be like, okay, ngaji, there are many teachers who can do that. Like for me, I'm not focused on ngaji because ada banyak. There's so many, and like I don't have the time to actually dedicate there. And then and I say I teach tafsir. So the very next question will be, what is tafsir? Right? And I say tafsir is basically studying the Quran in its meaning. Right? And then she will say, oh, okay. Hey, alamak, did I make it more attractive? Should I say something more? Right, because tafsir, you won't know of it until you get exposed. Then you're like, oh, this is tafsir. This. Right, so, yalah. But Allahu Alam. Yeah, he's his tafsir. He just all he's doing is translating. It's all there.
And he's very good. They get it to be illustrated also.
Yeah. They draw it out.
I was watching the class.
Yeah, they draw it out. They draw it out. Yeah. So but basically, that's the thing lah. That's the thing. They are still looking out to, but at the same time also, majority of the Muslims in Singapore, they can't read the Quran properly. At the same time. So it's really like you're going really trying to work with this. Right? But inshallah, may Allah open up for us. May Allah make it easy for all of us. Right? The revival of the Quran in its recitation and in its living the Quran and understanding the Quran. Right? And it begins with your children. Your kids will be the first generation who will be people of the Quran. Right? And they go around and they can understand and can explain verses. Right? Okay. So the first thing Habib speaks about is memorization. Should we pause there?
No, I was just meaning to do dua because it's raining.
Oh, okay. Amin. The fire put out. Okay, should we pause there or how? Because memorization is quite a bit.
Memorization is more for below 7 also.
Yes. Right. How? We pause there? What do you all think? You want to continue? Any questions? So you all lah. Yeah, whatever you learn, you teach. Yeah, that's what my mother told me. My mother told me exactly the same thing. She said, Ustaz Abdullah did tafsir. And his tafsir was amazing. My mother used to attend. Right, so even now, when my mother teaches tafsir, she would take Ustaz Abdullah's notes. Right, whatever he used to teach the Malay community, right, that was amazing, she said. Right, but after him, not many. Not many took the path of tafsir. And Ustaz Abdullah, amazingly, he never went overseas to study. Semua like laduni Semua Allah kasih. Right. So Ustaz Abdullah Masya Allah. Right. He had sheikh, He had his shuyukh. But he just never went overseas lah. He stayed in Singapore. Like, but Allah, my mother will say like, well, my mother was one of his students. So my mother will say like, Allah opened for him. Masya Allah. He had openings like none other. Like Masya Allah lah on him lah. Yeah. But he had, Allahu Alam. Yeah, but his tafsir was something that people would attend lah. But the same thing lah, one of my sisters was saying lah that the madrasah students see it as not a fruitful degree to pursue. Like I told her that if I had the age, and I knew about this, I would have gone and done a master's in tafsir. I would have really gone all out for it. But I don't have the age for it. I'm really how old already. I cannot spend another 4 more years studying. Right. So subhanallah. Maybe that's what I'm saying. Your kids, inshallah. But they get them excited about the Quran, and then they can go and learn it. I really envy. I really envy my teacher in Darul Zahra. Subhanallah, tafsir, ya Allah. And when she tell us about how many times they go through the Surah Baqarah, how many times they go through, and they have to teach their own teacher to make sure that their tafsir is very firm. Right. So she was the one that before I left, I went to speak to her, and I said that what do you say about tafsir in Singapore, right, as da'wah? But I'm not trained like you. I told her, of course I'm not trained like you lah. I only have many years in Darul Zahra. I can't even call it a proper degree. Right. So she was like, and she pointed me to a few books to focus on, which I'm focusing on with all the classes, and then she said what to focus on also, right, when you deliver. So basically, it's from what she told me lah. That's what I'm basing on, like how she guided that part. Right. So, but then I was like, I know that I didn't study how many years you studied. Right. I can't. How am I going to teach tafsir in Singapore? Right. But she said, no. Focus on these books for the awam, that one. Right. For the common person lah. Just give them that. Right. But this, you want to know what's out there. Like you just like itching to know like what they have written in all those books. So I'm like, inshallah, in Jannah we can learn tafsir in there. Like in Jannah already, but I want to learn. I want to know about it. Right, just the love of it. This is why there was an alim who, he loved praying so much. He loved praying. Right, that he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, if you have given anybody the gift of prayer in their grave, then give me the gift of prayer in my grave. Right, and after he passed away, something happened that his grave was dug up. Right, and then they found him praying in his grave. So when they went back to his wife, they asked his wife lah, like, we found your husband in this state. What is his story? And she said that he used to love the prayer. Right, and then and he would make this dua every night. That, Ya Allah, if anybody can pray in their grave, then let me pray in my grave. So Allah granted that dua to him. And so there's another story in Hadramaut whereby there was a wali also who was found in his grave reading the Quran. So he was reciting the Quran in his grave. And because of their love for the Quran so much, they don't want to stop reciting. So even if they have died also, they might still want to read the Quran. Right? So of course, the ulama say all of these deeds in their grave, it won't be added to their account in the akhirat lah. They have no pahala for it. But there's no but their love for it, they can't even leave it. They want to continue to read the Quran in the grave also. Let's read it. Might as well not doing anything. Let me read the Quran in the grave. Right. So mashallah, this people, mashallah. May Allah give us the adab and the love for the Quran, and open for us the knowledge in the Quran, and for our children. I have hopes in them, because we all that already we have reached an age, So we want them to be those who will spread this Quran, bring the Quran back to the people, because there is no way out of the end of times besides the Quran. And that's from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's the only way out. If you want them to be saved, they must hold on to the Quran. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Any questions about this? Oh, last week's riddle. What was the riddle? Oh, about the one At-Tahiyah one, right? Okay, so basically, this man who was reading the At-Tahiyah for so long, he is the 40th person in a jama'ah for Salat Jum'ah. For Salat Jum'ah, is only sah when 40 people attend the whole khutbah plus the whole prayer. It's only sah that case. So there were exactly 40 of them. He was the 40th one. Everybody finished praying already. Finished khutbah, finished praying, everybody go home already. He was still there doing his atahiyah, and then he batal his salat, and the whole Jumu'ah batal. It's a hypothetical question. Yeah, but then he has to go and announce to the 40 people. It's not 40 people. Go and pray Zohor. Or come back, we go and redo it. Yeah. There's the one No. He has to call everybody to come back and redo. Yeah, because he batalkan the whole Jemaah lah. Allah, I didn't answer about that. Yeah, but basically, it's hypothetical lah. I don't think it actually happened in real life. Right? And the one that is wajib to do but sunnah to niyat, and within it is something that is sunnah to do but wajib to niyat. What is that? Can you guess what is wajib to do? Sunnah to niyat. The niyat is sunnah. Usually it's very rare something is sunnah to niyat. Everything that you do is wajib to niyat. But this one is wajib to do, sunnah to niyat. Right? But within it there's another act that is sunnah to do but wajib to niyat. What is it? Mandikan mayat. Yes. When you bathe the deceased, it's wajib to do, it's sunnah to niyat. You don't have to niyat, I am bathing this deceased. So for example, if you take deceased, you put him up in the rain, right? He's being washed. You don't have to niyat. So he's washed. Right? And then and within the mandi mayat is sunnah to wudu the mayat. But then if you want to wudu the mayat, you must niyat the wudu. The wudu must have niyat. Right? But it's sunnah to do the wudu in the first place lah. Right? But to bathe the mayat is wajib. You don't have to do the niyat at all. There is no wajib of the niyat, but it's sunnah to niyat. Right? The bathing of the mayat. Not fikir. All her riddles. Okay. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna ma yanfa'una. وزدنا علما وإيمانا وقربا إليك يا رب. فاتنا الله يرزقنا منافع من الخالص المقبول ويسر بنا لقب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم المعلمين مشاكلنا وحفظ الحقوق علينا وإلى حفظ النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. الفاتحة. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وسلم.